Broker Daily Uncut.
Broker Daily Uncut.
News, views and opinion about what's shaping Australia's mortgage and finance industry.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Broker Daily Uncut. Your host Jack Campbell here, ready to round off what's been happening in and around the broking industry over the past week. Admittedly, it was a bit light on content last week, but that's all changed as of this morning. There were a big announcement from the government and we'll get stuck into it. But before we do, my co-hosts Phil Tarrant, Alex Whitlock, how you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having us back.
Yeah, well, you were missing last week. You're over in Queenstown.
Oh, that's right. So you and Alex recorded
I was
last week.
there. Hang on a second. I was on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, Phil was living it up.
Yeah, going crazy in Queenstown.
Yeah? How was it over there? Cold?
It's just it's a good town, Queenstown. You know, it's it's good. It's sort of down to business, getting stuff done, which is pretty good. A nice time. I like getting out of the office because it's a couple of execs I specifically like to work with, and when they're in Sydney, I normally have to do what I normally need to do, so it's not as productive. But when I can get away for sort of offsites and stuff and get a lot done, which was handy.
Yeah, Queenstown's a good spot. I've got a lot of people that go over there to ski and then end up moving there because they love it.
Mate, half of Sydney, Australia is in Queenstown, right? It's pretty cool. Property's pricey out there, right? But it's easy to get there. It's easier to get there than down to Thredbo or Perisher, right? If you want to jump on a plane,
And
you
cheaper.
lose a bit of it's probably cheaper getting there. You know, you lose a bit of time getting there, but you make a fair bit of it on the way back. It's not a bad place for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, good to get everyone back in the studio. It feels like a while since all three of us have been in, and fitting as some big news this morning. The government, they promised the 5% deposits that was going to come into effect from 1st of January next year. They've pulled it forward 3 months. So from 1st of October, borrowers, first home buyers will be able to access 5% deposits, no income caps, unlimited places, no LMI. And we were having a chat before we jumped on. Phil,
Are they able to explain exactly how that works?
Well, that's what we were talking about. They haven't really explained exactly how it works. It's just sort of like the announcement that it's come out. So I'm sure that's going to follow. But I mean, you guys had some pretty strong opinions on it, didn't you?
It's not a matter of having an opinion. I'm just confused.
Yeah.
I'd like clarity.
Yeah, we haven't got much other than the release they sent out. So trying to find out behind the scenes might be worth reaching out to someone who is involved with it. But yeah, a bit of transparency, I suppose, is always good. Phil?
I don't know. It's just headline grabbing. I want more details, and we spoke about it when they sort of promising this as an election thing. Okay, so you only need a 5% deposit. Okay, great. That sort of makes sense. So where's the other 95% come from? You've got to borrow it, I imagine. You're not going to get free money from anywhere. So I want to know how the government is actually guaranteeing that 15%, to get to an 80% LVR. I want to know who's compensating the LMI providers. I would imagine.
So Bill, an anecdotal conversation I had with somebody from one of the LMI providers, and I won't go into people's names or brand names because it was anecdotal, was the suggestion was the government was going into competition with their LMI providers.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, yeah, it's you've got businesses that have been built over, I don't know, in the last sort of 30 years. I've been in Australia. There's not a lot of capacity for LMI providers. There's typically room for maybe two of them, and it's a pretty hard space to operate in. And just again, look, I might have this wrong, but the impression that I'm getting is that the government is now making it harder once again for LMI providers to operate by stepping into that space, because I don't believe they're engaging LMI providers or subsidising LMI providers. I think the government is giving its sort of backing to, I assume somehow, to guarantee the lenders. And I would like transparency from the government to know, are lenders lending above 80% without insurances? Is that, you know what I mean, Phil?
Well, I want to know how the government's actually guaranteeing it. I want to understand whether or not every single lender is subscribed into it, which lenders are actually going to be providing mortgages under this scheme. What rates are those lenders going to be offering them at? Are they going to be assuming that it's an 80% lend, but when really it's a 95% lend? Is there going to be a premium on the interest rates around it? Some lenders might not want to involve themselves in it. And one of my biggest concerns is that, you're going to have Australians, younger Australians, and let's remember that the average age for first home buyers now is their 40s, right? So we say younger Australians, middle-aged Australians, let's call it what it is. They may be taking on bigger debts than maybe they can and should be able to be servicing. And I think you might find out if they're not making sage investment decisions, many of them may find themselves in negative equity. Now, when the bank comes knocking, saying, hey, we want our 95% back that we lent you, and they start going to the government saying, hey, we're short here. We're foreclosing all these Australians because the realities of property ownership and the realities of paying a mortgage is not really what they subscribed into. I think we're going to end up with some problems.
So crystal ball, do you anticipate a bit of pushback from LMI providers and lenders?
If I was an LMI provider, I'd be livid. I'd be seeking compensation from the government. You've just decimated this. How competitive is that? You build your business here to provide LMI, and then in a stroke of a pen, we're speculating.
We don't actually know.
But no one knows. We're speculating.
We don't actually know.
Yeah. To the LMI providers out there, please come and have a chat with us off the record. We really like to understand it because at the moment we're forming opinions in isolation. We don't have all the facts. I can't find them. When's he start? October,
yeah, so it's not that far off.
But the biggest issue I have is that, look, you raise 50 grand, $1 million home, right? You raise 50 grand, you're in the market, you get some other grants and stuff connected with it. That's great for the first moment that you're in your brand new home. When those interest repayments start sort of biting reality and you've got to compromise other things in your life to actually make them, a lot of Australians might feel as though it wouldn't be or was the right decision for them. Just telegraphing. I think, for some Australians, it's going to be a great way for them to get into home ownership faster. But I think it's not right for everyone.
Yeah, I think the major ones that will benefit are the people that are already earning a solid income that haven't quite been able to save for a deposit. But I think, a lot of the cracks will start to show after it gets implemented. But of course, we'll keep on top of it and see what else gets announced.
Like lenders out there, tell us what you're doing. Are you supporting this regime? Is there going to be postcode restrictions? I'll tell you what, lenders won't be exposing themselves to markets which has a huge oversaturation of first home buyers using a government scheme at 95%. If they think they're just going to go out there and buy every greenfield property in the suburbs of Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane or wherever, and you've got these huge clusters of first home owners using these 95% schemes, it's a fast track way you just need one little thing to go wrong with that, and those Australians don't want to live in those houses anymore. You decimate markets.
Well, what happens there if the government promises something and the lenders turn around and say, we don't want to do it?
Well, the lenders are going to say, well, you guaranteed this, we want our money back. So who pays for that then? The Australian taxpayer.
Well, there's a lot to keep on top of, and we'll do some digging. It was only announced that they were pulling it forward this morning, but obviously it's been talked about for quite a while, but nobody really knows what's going on.
Can you find some details around it? Like these are the intricacies and nuances, and maybe it's out there and I'm just dumb enough not to be able to find it, but I've looked for it. So maybe someone who knows.
And if you have any background on it, reach out to us, editor at brokerdaily.au. Want to hear your thoughts because we're in the dark, and if we're in the dark, everyone else is probably in the dark too. We'll just throw to a quick break. We'll be back into more content just after this. And we're back with Broker Daily Uncut. Now, you guys just got back from Queenstown and gearing up for another big event. We have the Australian Broking Awards this Friday. Will we see you guys there? That's a big event. I think NAB are principal partner, and we've got a lot of brokers in the room. I think it was about 700 odd that are coming. So big day. We're going to see you there, Alex.
Yeah, we'll show our faces. I'll be sticking around. I've enjoyed every one of them since the what was the first one, Phil? It was about 2012, was it?
Yeah, I'd say 2011, 2012.
Yeah, maybe 2011. Yeah, long time.
At the Overseas Passenger Terminal, Larry Emder was the MC. It's when we used to do the quiz. Remember that? Australia's brightest broker, broker IQ. Bring it back, I say.
How many numbers did you get back then? 2011.
Otto was the
Otto Dragan, Dargan.
Yeah, he was the winner.
He was the winner.
Back in the day.
First year we had 450 people at the Overseas Passenger Terminal. It was great. It was a really good day.
Yeah.
It was it was a formative moment, I think, for the broking industry. It was something very different and had bit of a tempo to it all, and everyone enjoyed it. It's probably the first major event that we did as a company at that size. So there's a lot of people here who are very nostalgic about the Australian Broking Awards. It's a lunchtime as well.
Yeah.
With a big after party. So
that's always the
I'm
grab.
a bit old these days to be going to those things, but in my youth I used to get down to it.
Yeah. Well, I know brokers love it. Every event you go to, it's just an excuse for people to catch up with old mates that they've been in and around the industry with for decades, oftentimes, because they always move around and migrate in the industry, but they never leave it.
Yeah, and one of the things I take away from going to it is it's refreshing to see the young cadre of brokers coming through, and you know, you go to these things 10 years ago, you pretty much knew everyone in the room. Now you go to them and you've got this young cohort of brokers who are active and dynamic and driven and passionate about their profession, who have all been attracted into mortgage broking after over the last sort of 3 to 4 years. It is hugely and certainly an attraction industry now, and a lot of brokers are able to make their mark and build a good business and lifestyle out of being a broker. So it's good to go to them because it's just a sage reality check that's a very vibrant and dynamic and ever changing industry, and the young cohort coming through they're a step up.
Yeah, well, lots changed since 2011. We got record market share, record number of brokers. I think it's around 22,000 now. Would have been a fraction of that back then. So a lot of people coming in and reaping the benefits, I suppose.
Yeah, it's good. And long shall the broker industry be as dynamic as it has. And I only think it's going to get more and more professional as competition increases and digitalisation emerges. I think you're going to end up with a very focused and professional sector moving forward, which is good for Australian consumers.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if anyone's heading down to the Australian Broking Awards and sees the Momentum Media table, come up and say hello. Love to have a
You're
chat.
Just going to sign autographs as the,
I don't think I'm
the host of the.
I'm not quite Annie Kane yet. I don't think I'll be signing autographs.
You're pushing Annie away, saying, "Oh, this is the one you need."
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if anyone would recognise me. I got the face for radio. That's why I jump on the podcast. We'll just throw to another quick break. We'll be back into more content just after this. And we're back with Broker Daily Uncut. Now, as we said, it was a bit light on news last week. We were sort of scrambling to find stuff to talk about, but there was some interesting stuff that came out, and one was an article we drafted up about Australia's empty bedroom problem, with 61% of households made up with 1 to 2 people, which is, I wouldn't have expected that. And, you know, the Australian property market isn't really built for families that small, is it? There's a lot of big homes out there which the vast majority, if you go out of the city, there's no apartments, there's just big houses like that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Is that something that you've kept on top of?
A lot of people will draw parallels to this as part of the wider discussion around housing affordability and housing accessibility. And a lot of this is the structural concerns around sort of stamp duty. So, you know, you've got a family home, you've raised kids in it, they've all left, it's 4 or 5 bedrooms. It's expensive to downsize. So a lot of people sort of stick around and stay with it. So it's often highlighted the fact that we don't get great utility out of Australian housing, and also the majority structure for how people live now. It's you're either single or a couple, right? You don't there's not kids all over the place, and that's just a changing and shifting dynamic. So, you know, that Australians traditionally have built larger houses and larger apartments, but that's not really the product market fit for today. So, you know, yeah, it's one of those things. Is the government going to be able to change things?
You can't change what's been built over the last 100 years to reflect the changing demographics over the last couple of decades. And I suspect it's probably the same in other markets. You know, people are not getting married. Fewer people are having children. You've got plenty of couples living together. But you also got a lot of single people. It's an interesting observation, and there is no doubt that there is wastage in sort of space, if you want to look at it that way. But it's properties that have already been built, right? It's not like they're being sort of piled onto the marketplace now. I'd imagine that properties that are being built now are being built in line with today's demographics, I would imagine.
Yeah, a lot of boffins have actually done the calculations on this, and they say if they utilise the unutilised space in housing, it'll go a long way to solving the supply side issues that we have with affordability. So what needs to happen is that you've got to change taxation rules around stamp duty, and they're already sort of throwing these around and having sort of a longer term sort of land tax. But you might be able to transact housing easily, but the government's always got to have its hand out for its tax receipts. So to watch this space. But I think it's just one of many different aspects of the supply side issues we have with Australian housing.
Yeah.
And you got to remember also a lot of people now are using those third bedrooms and second bedrooms as home offices as a lot of people sort of go to this work from home type scenario, which is, again, it's a big debate around it being mandated or legislated rather in Victoria, which has had some big concerns around it. I saw one of the stories you had last week was around sort of AI, Commonwealth Bank saying it made some job cuts around AI, and the unions were out of the blocks pretty quickly to say you can't do this, but it's the reality of the world these days.
Yeah, well, CBA pulled back on that, which I know a lot of people were happy about, but
It's interesting.
They
pulled back on it?
They said that the jobs that were getting replaced by AI, there was this voice bot that was going to replace call center jobs. They turned around and said the people whose jobs were going to be replaced, they're staying on, and those who want to leave,
they got voluntary redundancies.
Yeah, voluntary redundancies. But I thought what was interesting about that, we spoke about it on a podcast that's releasing tomorrow, Finance Specialist with Trent Carter. It was around Matt Common was the only CEO, the only representative of a company at this productivity economic reform roundtable, and it was sort of off the back of that this announcement happened. So you got to wonder whether he saw the writing on the wall in that discussion that happened.
But we've got to have a more mature conversation around this. Technology is going to change the way we work. I think it's, to consider things the old ways, and obviously your unions, I think it was the Financial Services Union or something similar to that, up in arms around it. Well, the realities and practicalities of running a business is you're going to be looking for productivity increases. And if you're not, you're mad,
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see how far it's come. Obviously, we knew AI would shake up the job market, but how far and how much it has already is exciting, but also concerning for people who don't keep on top of it, because the new is always scary, isn't it? But unfortunately, all we have time for today. If you want to visit more content, visit brokerdaily.au. If you want to chat about anything we've talked about on this podcast today, any LMI providers or lenders who want to chat about this new 5% deposit debacle, reach out to me, editor at brokerdaily.au. We'd love to chat to you about it. We'll talk to you again soon. Cheers.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.